Hey Twisted People, it's your Twisted Woman here, Chauncey K. Robinson, and today I am doing a spoiler-free review of Netflix's Army of the Dead. Following a zombie outbreak in Las Vegas, a group of mercenaries take the ultimate gamble, venturing into the quarantine zone to pull off the greatest heist ever attempted. Army of the Dead adds some cool new elements that we haven't really seen often in the zombie genre of film. And it also pays tribute to many of the aspects that we are used to in zombie films as well. That will make it so those of you who love that subgenre of horror will probably love this. Now, with that said, it's not the kind of movie that sticks with you long after you've finished it, but it is a fun ride while watching. Army of the Dead is 2.5 hours long, and that first hour is amazing. I think Zack Snyder, who did this, who directed this and co-wrote this film, really clearly had a lot of fun with this when it comes to zombies, when it comes to creating this universe, when it comes to showing Las Vegas in a kind of zombie overrun type of way. And you can see that. You can see the fun that was had, especially in the first hour. It really does set the tone of what you're getting into. There's elements of fun there. There's elements of humor while still keeping the stakes pretty high. And that can be hard sometimes because sometimes, with the zombie film, there can be a thing where either someone makes it completely kind of a joke where it's kind of like, oh, this is so funny, where you can't even take the zombies seriously, or they make it super, super serious where it's like, oh my gosh, this is so dramatic and there is no humor. And I do think that Army of the Dead strikes a really well done balance of that. And it's a pretty straightforward plot, which is fine because it's a zombie film. It's not Shakespeare. I think one of the great highlights of this film is that it does have social commentary. As someone who is a lover of horror and that genre, because of the fact that I feel like it's such a great way to do commentary on our real world in a kind of fantastical, fear-filled way. And I think the zombie subgenre of horror has a tendency to do that when it comes to the zombies, oftentimes in certain films and TV shows, somewhat being a symbol of humanity and the way people react in those situations being symbolic to how humans can be. And I think when that's done well in that genre of the zombie film, it can really hold a punch. And a lot of time in some films when it's devoid of that, when they just do brains and it's just zombies, it's not as compelling. And I do appreciate that Army of the Dead went that route of having somewhat of some social commentary. Now, it's not so prevalent that it's distracting, but it's there. There's commentary on greed and capitalism and government functioning and how that can change the world and how that affects people, those who are not powerful, those who are not the 1%. And I dug it. I dug that there was a commentary, a somewhat, really strong stance on the question of greed, on the question of capitalism. And so I dig it. And I think if you are into films that have a little bit of a little second layer, a little layering, a little complexity there, then you will enjoy that as well. And this actually makes sense because Zack Snyder also did a very good other zombie film, which was Dawn of the Dead, which had social commentary on consumerism within that as well. So it makes sense that this film would also have some sort of social commentary there. Cool zombies. Oh my gosh. These zombies were cool. They definitely took the time to figure out how they wanted these zombies to be. Now, is it groundbreaking? Are these zombies anything you've never seen before? Not exactly. That's not exactly what's happening there. But there are some elements that are focused on when it comes to the zombies that I have not seen done in other zombie films. So in that sense, that goes back to what I was saying, that Snyder adds some new elements that we don't always see when it comes to the zombie film. And I appreciated that. And I think if you are a zombie buff, you will appreciate that as well, as it being something that you haven't usually seen before. This movie is heavy on the action. It's more of an action horror than it is a kind of spooky horror. There's not really many like jump scares and things like that. It really does lean on that horror action type of element, that there are these creatures and things that are the monsters, and that there is the action of battling them. So there are a lot of battles, a lot of cool scenes, a lot of gun scenes and fight scenes, and they are really well done. If you are looking for something that is a little bit more on the eerie side and what's that, then that's not what you're going to get here. Now, as I said, the first hour of this film is awesome. Snyder really sets the tone. There's some slow-mo, because you know Snyder loves his slow motion. There's a lot of that. I actually dig the slow motion. I like when you get to sit with the characters. There are some characters that, even though, you know, we don't get a whole bunch of time with them, they actually feel quite fleshed out, and I appreciated that. With that said, I do think the last hour of the film starts to begin to feel quite rushed. There's a lot of action, almost nonstop action, to the point where you're not allowed to kind of sit with some of the things that have happened, whether it be some of the deaths that occur, some of the plot twist and things like that. You're not allowed to kind of marinate with them long enough. It's kind of like, okay, this is happening now, this is happening now, this is happening. And before you know it, the credits are rolling. And it's like, whoa, that was a lot from, you know, the beginning of this film, where it seemed like he was kind of taking his time. He was kind of getting you into it. He was kind of setting a scene, setting a tone. And then the last hour just kind of goes so quickly through all of that, which I kind of was like, oh, pump the brakes a little bit. Let's work with this. And so you might feel like it's a little rushed. I mean, yes, it's a 2.5 hour movie, but I also felt like once the credits roll, I was like, that's it? It's done? Also, some of the characters are insufferable. Some characters are just so predictable. Some elements of this film are super, super predictable. You can see it coming a mile away with some of the twists and turns. And like I said, it's a zombie heist film. It's not Shakespeare. I don't need to necessarily be like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming, because I'm not necessarily here for that. I want good storytelling, but I'm also here for the zombies. I'm also here for the action. So in that sense, there's no cool subversion of tropes there. It just kind of plays out like many of the things you've seen before. Is it scary? I think in the scenario of zombies, if those things scare you, yes, I think you will feel a little bit of tension watching these characters, you know, have to do battle with them. But if you're looking for something that's kind of like bump in the night, it's creepy, a lot of jump scares, that's not what you're getting here. This is a very action-orientated zombie flick. My final twisted grade for Army of the Dead is B+. Comment down below and let me know, what are some of your fave types of zombie pictures? Do you like the eerie? Do you like when it's more focused on the humans and the zombies are just the backdrop? Do you like action orientated? Do you even like the horror subgenre of zombie films, or are you kind of over them? Let me know, comment down below, and also be sure to subscribe so that you are the first to know when I post my videos. Thanks for watching. Let's get creepy together.